This is a 10-inch ring light. I received this for free to review from the Amazon Vine Voice review program. If you wanted to buy it, it would cost you $50. Now, I was not paid for my review, and my editorial opinions are my own. So in the box we have a quick start guide, box which I assume is the ring light, a desk clamp, and a stand, which is protected in foam. So they called this a ring light. It does not have the typical ring with a hole for a camera. It's designed to provide uniform light for close-up subjects, but it is really more of a disc light. Now it has USB power source, so USB-A, and it has a little control, up, down, power, and mode. So the listing called this a ring light. It's really more of a key light. It's basically a solid disc of uniform lighting. So it does not provide a power supply, so you need to have a USB power bank or a computer or a plug-in adapter that's capable of providing 2 amps at 5 volts or 10 watts. And so this is, turned on. There's 3 modes. There's warm white, there's cool white, and natural white. So here's the cool, there's warm. I think that's natural, which is a mixture of the two. They also have brightness controls, so you can go up or down in the brightness. So that there is the lowest brightness setting. And that is the brightest brightness setting. And the power button. Now it has a 1/4x20 mounting hole here, so you can hold this up with any standard tripod or anything with a 1/4x20 screw that would screw into that. This guy here will flex and you can tighten it up. So you just screw this guy onto the end of the guy here, which requires you to rotate the entire thing, or one of the 2 entire things, wrapping the cord all the way around it. And this has 2 kind of factory set, very tight, you can just move it and set it and it should hopefully stay where you set it. As this guy here as well can tilt 180 as well. So there's lots of adjustability for pointing this where you want to point it. And the bottom of the base, which does, it looks like telescope. So you can telescope the base up relatively high here. The bottom of the base hooks up to this C-clamp, and that's an M10 bolt there. And this guy will clamp to your table. It has a rubber pad on the top of the table, and it has some type of rubbery plastic protecting the bottom of your table from this giant washer head here. So clamped to my table just fine. You might find it easier to screw this in before you clamp it to the table as opposed to after, like I've done, because you're going to have to rotate this thing all the way around and have that cable spin around and so forth. I kind of recommend screwing that on first. Alright, so from an adjustability standpoint, this guy can go up pretty high, and you can adjust it out kind of that far over the table and rotate over a pretty decent area. And then you can also get it low. This is as far down as that goes, but you could also take this down like this or like that. So it's a reasonable amount of adjustability for tabletop work. Alright, I turned this thing on and I'm monitoring the power draw, and at 5 volts it is drawing exactly 2 amps, so it's 1.99 amps. So, first of all, this little power adapter is able to provide it with as much power as it wants, but it's not drawing any more or any less power than it claimed to. So you will definitely need a minimum of a 2 amp adapter to power this guy. Now when the light is turned off, and it's hooked up to power. There is this small bluish LED light that lets you find the switch. When you turn on the light, that goes off, but it doesn't really matter because now you have this giant light on. But if you're trying to use this someplace where you don't want any extra light when it's turned off, that could be a little bit of extra light that you don't want. Alright, as an example of the light it puts out, I have a dimly lit room we're in right now. This is about 3 feet above the manual here. When I turn it on, there's that guy. This is at the highest brightness setting. Now I'm going to go through the different modes. So there's the warm light mode, there's the natural sunlight mode, and that's the cool light mode. And it doesn't appear to get any brighter when you go to the mixed mode, which mixes both colors of lights. So it appears that the brightness remains the same regardless of the mode. Now when you dim it, you can push the dim button here, and it will dim. It's not quite off, it's still lighting this up, so that's the dimmest mode. I'll turn it off now, and that's turned off. So when you turn it back on, it remembers its last settings, so it's going to come back in the same mode and dimness level that you had it on last. Now if you unplug power from it and plug the power back in, I don't know for sure that it'll remember those settings. So let me go down to a super dim light, unplug the power, plug the power back in, turn it back on. So you can see there it only seems to remember the mode as long as it retains power. So if you unplug it, it will forget its mode settings, but then you just push the buttons to adjust it to where you want it. Alright, so at the $50 price point, I would have liked to see some snaps, little plastic snaps that would have let you snap the cable to these guys here, just so the cable isn't kind of floating around. I mean, you can make your own Velcro or zip tie or whatever cable management solutions, but it would be nice if they'd included cable management solution with this. Also, if they'd included a little power adapter to power the thing, that would be a nice touch at this price point. It's pretty nice. It's this guy here, you position it, it stays, it sits where it needs to be. Looks like you're going to need an Allen key hex wrench to adjust the tightness on these. I don't think you need to adjust the tightness, but if at any point they get loose and need to be adjusted, you'll need a hex wrench for that. It puts out a decent amount of light, it's easily controllable. I like the clamp holds well. So it's a nice lamp, but at the price point it's at, I would have liked to see it supply its own power adapter and have a little bit of cable management to kind of enhance your value for that price point. On the other hand, not including a USB power adapter is kind of ecological in that if you're like me, you have lots of these USB power adapters just kind of sitting around, and finding one that'll provide 10 watts shouldn't be an issue. So at the dimmest setting, it draws 1/10 of an amp here. So I'm using this on my painting table, and the advantage of the clamp mount is that the light can move with the table as the table moves. Now with this thing telescoped in the down position for kind of tabletop height use, the controller is a little low. It's just below the table, so I have to grab the cord and lift up to get to the controller. So I think I would have preferred the controller being a little closer to the light. Okay, so other than a few minor gripes about lack of cable management, not having a power adapter included as part of the setup, it is a good light. It seems to be working well. I like the control of the different color temperatures and the uniform illumination.